Toss aside the touchy-feely notions of love in business and recognize the real power it holds. Welcome to the Love is Just Damn Good Business podcast with host Steve Farber. Drawing on his work with a wide variety of companies from the Fortune 100 to smaller family-owned businesses, Farber shares inspiring interviews with business leaders and proven strategies for how you can create experiences that your customers will love by developing a culture that your employees, teammates, and colleagues love working in. Discover why and how love, at the end of the day, is just damn good business for you too. Here's your host, Steve Farber.
Hi, this is Steve Farber, and welcome to another episode of the Love is Just Damn Good Business podcast, brought to you, as usual, by our friends at the Extreme Leadership Institute. And I know they're our friends because I happen to be the founder and CEO of that company. So come on over and check out what we do, learn a little bit about us and how we operate in the world of business at extremeleadership.com. Today's episode is going to be very different from the norm. We're taking a little bit of a departure. So we have no guests on the episode today. It's just you and me and a little bit of music. But I thought we'd start with a story. If you would have asked the late teens and early 20-something Steve Farber what he'd be doing in his 30s, 40s, 50s, and now 60s, I wouldn't have described this. I wouldn't have said, one day I'm going to be a leadership guy and I'll be giving speeches and doing consulting and writing books. I didn't know what any of that was. And in fact, I knew what I was going to be doing in my later years because I was going to be a musician. I started playing guitar when I was 13 years old. That's how I survived high school, actually. I used to sit and play for 6 to 8 hours a day. It was my passion. And I knew that one day when I grew up, I would be a working musician. And I started playing music with friends. We had a band when I was in my late teens. And in 1977, I believe it was, I bought my first really good guitar. And that guitar came with me to college, where I wrote my first good songs on that guitar, played some great gigs on that guitar, and I loved that guitar. Then in 1981, two things happened. I graduated college, and I got married. And I got married into an immediate family. My daughter, Angelica, was 4 years old at the time I married her mother. My son, Saul, came along a year later, and I discovered during that time that this idea of being a musician and, feeding people seemed to be mutually exclusive. So I gave up the music, which I'm sure, as you can imagine, was a very painful and difficult thing to do. But you know what? I needed the money. And I needed the money so bad that I sold my beautiful guitar, my beloved guitar. I sold it to a woman named Leslie for $280. And I still remember vividly watching Leslie walk down the hallway from my apartment carrying my guitar. And it was like watching the death of a dream. And I know that sounds terribly tragic, and in some ways it was, but in other ways it set me on a new path. I mean, I did have another dream, which was to raise a great family, which I did. And I had another dream, which was to be a great provider for that family. And that's what brought me into business. And that's what ultimately set me off on a trajectory, which led me into the work that I've been doing now for the last 30 years, work that I deeply love. But the music, for a time anyway, became something that I just needed to put on the shelf. And giving up on the dream of pursuing a music career, the only way that I could really deal with that was to stop playing music altogether. So for a couple of years, I didn't play. I didn't play at all. I didn't have a guitar anymore, for one thing, but it was just too painful. It was easier for me to stuff it away like a gunslinger hanging up his guns, I guess. And over the years, I did start to play again, and I got another guitar, and it became part of my, creative expression and part of my therapy day to day. But it wasn't something that I did regularly, and it wasn't something that I did with the great fervor and passion that I had played music with once upon a time. And then one day, about 8 years ago now, out of nowhere, I got an email from a woman named Leslie. She sent me this lovely message that said, I saw your name online, so I went to your website to see what you were doing, and you're doing such cool stuff, so I thought I would write just to say hi and congratulations and keep up the good work. And then she started filling me in on what she's been doing. I live in Texas now. I'm divorced. My kids are grown. And I'm doing this thing and that thing. You know, just small talk, I guess, if there is such a thing as small talk via email. And then she said, and I still have that guitar that you sold me all those years ago, blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, after I read that line, she may as well have written blah, 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 because I didn't see anything else. I couldn't believe that here she was. This woman I sold this guitar to all those decades ago was writing me to tell me that she still had it. So I collected myself, let my heartbeat slow down a little bit, and I wrote back to her. And I said, oh, it's so nice to hear from you. And I live in San Diego now, and my kids are grown. And by the way, if there's any chance at all that you'd be willing to sell that guitar back to me, I would love to have it back. And I hit send, and I stared at the screen, and I waited, hardly breathing. And within just a few minutes, she wrote me back. And she said, I still remember the look on your face when I walked out of your apartment carrying that guitar, and I've never been able to play it without thinking about your pain. So I don't play it, she said. It sits in my closet. As I recall, you sold me that guitar for $280. So I'll sell it to you for $280. Plus shipping. And I got it back. I mean, can you believe it? I got it back. So that guitar is called a Gurian, Gurian, made by Michael Gurian, who was starting to become really popular in the 70s and early 80s. And then his mill burned down, and he ended up going out of business. So they don't make those guitars anymore. It's a bit of a collector's item. But for me, in particular, that guitar, not only is it a beautiful sounding, beautiful playing, amazing, rare guitar, but for me, it represented everything I am and was once upon a time and had desired to be as a musician. So I looked at that as a tremendous gift and also a bit of a living metaphor. It was symbolic for me that maybe it's time in my life to really bring music back into play, to really, no pun intended, to really bring music into the fabric of my life as a professional and as a human being. And that's when I started to focus once again on music, on recording and on writing, and perhaps most important, on letting music be that inspiration for me, be that energizer for me every day in the way that it was once upon a time. So let's talk about you for a moment. As I've shared this story with a lot of people around the world over the last couple of years, I've had so many people share with me that they had something similar in their life that they loved to do once upon a time. For many, it was music. For others, it was writing. For others, it was a sport. So many things that they did because they loved doing, and then, for whatever reason, gave up on it. Maybe they didn't think they were good enough. Maybe because they couldn't make a living at it, it began to feel frivolous. They had other, quote, more important things to do in their lives, and they gave it up. So if there's something like that in your life that you loved doing once upon a time, but you gave up on for whatever reason, the question I have for you is, can you bring it back? Not only for the obvious reason that you owe it to yourself to bring that back, because that's where your joy comes from. That's where your love comes from. That's where your energy comes from. But also because, I would suggest, you owe it to the people that you're leading to bring that back for yourself, because that's where your energy, etc., comes from. So a couple of years ago, that guitar in hand, I went into the studio with my good friends, the brothers Corin, to record 6 songs, 4 of which I had actually written on that guitar 40 years ago before I gave it up, and a couple of songs that I actually finished on that guitar after I had been reunited with it. The album is called There's Not a Dream I Wouldn't Keep. And what I'm going to do for the rest of this episode is share those songs with you from the album. I'll give you a little preamble to each song, and it's my great joy and honor to be able to share that with you. You can find the album on all the streaming services. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, wherever it is that you listen to music, or you could just listen to it here. This first song is called Blaze of Glory, Ball of Fire. I wrote this originally for my kids because I wanted them to understand that they're writing their own story in this life. We're all writing our own story, and any good story in any novel or any movie that we've ever read or seen has an arc to it. It's got ups and downs. The hero goes through trials and tribulations and overcomes them. And the same is true in our life. So it's not about aspiring to have a life that has no challenges in it. It's really about understanding the challenges will come. But what determines our character is how we come back from those challenges and those experiences that in the moment can look like a failure. So this song, the inspiration for the song, is based on an old Italian proverb that goes something like this. The house is on fire, so let us warm ourselves. I love the sentiment of that proverb. And that's what I tried to capture in this song, Blaze of Glory, Ball of Fire. Enjoy.
Where the house is burning, let's warm ourselves. And the river's rising, let's fill our pails. The storm is blowing, let's raise our sails. That's the way it is. Never fails, it's always a dramatic story. And it's always down to the wire. May you go down in a blaze of glory and come back in a ball of fire. Where the earth is shaking, let's learn to dance. Our hearts are breaking, let's find romance. Battles are raging, let's hold our stance. That's the way it is. It's not by chance, it's always a dramatic story. And it's always down to the wire. May you go down in a blaze of glory. Come back in a ball of fire. Where the tree is falling, let's hear the sound. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. The phoenix rising, one more round. That's the way it is. Lost and found, it's always a dramatic story. And it's always down to the wire. May you go down in a blaze of glory. Come back in a ball of fire. Don't fade on me. Take a pen, take a napkin, write your next chapter. Fill it with characters, fill them with love. Give them some anguish to rise up above. At the end of the story, at the close of the scene, when the obvious things are not what they seem, when the villain is vanquished and the hero redeemed, and the bounty is granted for all your good deeds, and you climb on the back of your mighty white steed and head for the sunset like the end of a poem. And right away, right away, right away home. Where the house is burning, let's warm ourselves. And the earth is shaking, let's learn to dance. And the tree is falling, let's hear the sound. That's the way it is. We all fall down, and it's always a dramatic story. And it's always down the wire. May you go
that was Blaze of Glory, Ball of Fire. I started writing that song years ago when my guitar was separated from me, and I finished it and enhanced it a bit after I got the guitar back. This next song, called This Moment, I actually wrote in its entirety on my beloved Gurian guitar way back when I was in college. This song plays with one of my favorite metaphors, poetic metaphors, which is the ocean, which to me represents vastness, unboundedness, all possibilities in life. And in recent years, this idea of being mindful and being present, understanding that this moment is really all we have, has become part of the popular conversation, part of the mainstream culture. But back then, when I wrote this song, it was a little bit more unusual a concept, but it was something that I understood very clearly once upon a time and still do today. So this song is called This Moment.
I'll see you in the evening, sweet evening. If you're there, I'll carry you away, all the way up to the lighthouse, bright house. We'll sit and watch the tide roll in again. Then we'll fly out over the ocean, blue ocean, cutting through the salt and wind and spray. I can feel it on my face, red face, like memories that never go away. And I wouldn't trade a minute for an ocean full of tears, showered by the memory of you. Or for all the sand in the hourglass, or all the lonely years. This moment is all I need, forever now the only seed. This moment's all I need to see me through. There's a lantern on the hillside, soft hillside. They'd light it when the high tide rolled ashore. And I seen that light glowing, strange glowing, 'cause nobody lives round there anymore. And where were you that evening? Please tell me. Was that lamp a dream? Was it real? And now you're rolling through my daydreams, sweet daydreams, like the ocean wind rolls down through the fields. And I wouldn't trade a minute for an ocean full of tears, showered by the memory of you. Or for all the sand in the hourglass, or all the lonely years. This moment is all I need, forever now the only seed. This moment's all I need to see me through. This moment is all I need, forever now the only seed. This moment's all I need to see me through. See me through.
This next song was also written around that same time, back when I was a young man in college. And I remember the original inspiration for this song just came to me, as many of my songs do, in the form of an image. I got this picture in my head of this girl on a river and something mystical about her skipping along on the surface of the water, running away down the river. And I just played with that image. And sure enough, this song emerged. It's called Away on the River. And over the years, it's gone through many different arrangements and versions. And this, I have to say, is my all-time favorite. And I'm happy to share it with you now. So here it is, Away on the River.
Folks on the river, they got a tale to tell. They remember the days and they remember the stories well. When the waves that rolled on the river rolled higher than the tidal sea. Oh, you can call me crazy, I believed them when they told it to me. Running away and running away on the river, oh. Running away and running away on the river, oh. The story goes in the beginning was a river girl, and she stood on the banks like she stood on the edge of the world. And then the water rolled through like thunder, breaks open in a summer sky. And there she rolled the waves through the air, the people cried. She's running away and running away on the river, oh. Running away and running away on the river, oh. Running away and running away on the river, oh. Running away and running away on the river, oh. Some called it sin, others called it sacrifice. But since that day, the river runs smooth as ice. They don't get the towering waters they used to get in them there days. Now the people think they're happy, but me, I've missed the waves. We're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. Sometimes I wonder where that girl could be. They say she took the water with her to the air above the trees. You know I don't believe in fables, but this one appeals to me. 'Cause I thought I heard her singing yesterday in the morning breeze. And she was running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river, oh. We're running away, now we're running away and running away on the river.
So now I'm going to take you from the river back to the ocean. This next song is called Sailor and the Ocean. Another song that I wrote way back when I was a young man. And this is really the deepest exploration for me of the metaphor of the ocean. And it's a song that has become part of the soundtrack of my life. I've played it for many people over the years. I played this song at the memorial service for my big brother, Bill, after he passed away. It was one of his favorite songs. It means a lot to me. And it's about our ability, our willingness and our ability to surrender. It's about the joy and the freedom that comes from our letting go and giving ourselves over to something bigger, something greater than ourselves. So I hope you love this song as much as I do. It's called Sailor and the Ocean. Enjoy.
Can you turn the tides to heaven? Can you turn the tides at all? With the seagulls rushing downward, the horizon rushing outward, can you turn the tides at all? Red flannel sky at morning warned the sailor on the docks. His red flannel shirt was open and his heart was nearly frozen, till he heard the old girl crashing on the rocks, and the wind came down like feathers, softly brushing through his hair. He felt the ocean churning, and his head was slowly turning, for it seemed she called to him through the air, can you turn my tides to heaven? Can you turn my tides at all? With my seagulls rushing downward and my horizon rushing outward, can you turn my tides at all? Now the sailor was a young man, eyes as clear as morning sky. The stars gave his direction, and the wind gave its attention. They would tell him truth, but never tell him why. And so his years went by like sonnets, written to no one at all. He had trials and tribulations, and in his hour of desperation, he turned to the ocean, gave her one last call. Can I turn your tides to heaven? Can I turn your tides at all? I've seen your seagulls rushing downward and your horizon rushing outward. Can I turn your tides at all? And on that day she called out to him, salty breath, but sweet reply. Come to me on your knees, blow softly and you'll see. My waves will take you high above the sky. And now he turns the tides to heaven. Now he turns the tides to heaven. Now he turns the tides to heaven. But does he turn the tides at all?
This next song is a little bit of a departure from the usual theme of my ballad sorts of ditties. This story that you're about to hear is written about a guy who is at that time in life when a marriage has ended and he's waiting for the next opportunity to come along. Now, when I first wrote this song, my kids thought it was autobiographical because I had divorced, and went through that time, when this guy in this song is experiencing. So they just assumed that I wrote this about myself. So I want to be very clear. Although founded in my experience of what it's like to be newly single, this song is not autobiographical, but I think I can get into this person's brain well enough and heart well enough to be able to tell the story. The refrain that you're about to hear goes like this. He's got extra room inside his slacks. He's got extra money from his tax. He's got extra time on his hands because he been extradited from Loveland. The name of the song, appropriately, is Loveland. Here we go.
He got extra room inside his slacks, extra money from his tax. He got extra time on his hands cause he been extradited from Loveland. They go strolling hand in hand. She the woman, he the man. They stick their toes into the sand. It was always sunny in Loveland. Sometimes they'd chase, sometimes they'd walk. She the lamb and he the fox. He kept her in a music box. In Loveland there's no need to talk. She believed in miracles. He believed in obstacles. In time they got confused. She cut her hair, he pierced his ear. She had no fear that scared him city here. He got courage, but she was gone. The guys won't wait around too long. Now he works his knots out in the gym. He takes a steam, he takes a swim. He sees the girls, but they don't see him. So he buys an Addis WM. And now he tucks his shirt into his briefs. He shines his shoes, he cleans his teeth. His tie is tied, his hair is neat, to viewing his way down the street. She believed in miracles. He believed in obstacles. Time they got confused. She looked into his soul completely. He looked into his coffee grinds. She read the future, he read Newsweek. She told fortunes, he told lies. Now he got more friends than he could ever see. He is privy to their deepest dreams. I love them and they love me, but they are living but TV. And he got extra room inside his slacks, extra money from his tax. He got extra time on his hands cause he been extradited from Loveland. He got extra room inside his slacks, extra money from his tax. He got extra time on his hands cause he been extradited from Loveland. He been extradited from Loveland. He been extradited from Loveland. And he been extradited from Loveland.
Yes, he been extradited from Loveland. Well, I hope you've been enjoying these songs, and thanks so much for coming along on this personal music journey with me. I'm going to leave you with one last song. I consider this to be kind of a bookend song to Sailor and the Ocean. This is called Dream Song, and it's very meditative in its structure with a repeating chord pattern and rather haunting melody. This is a purely symbolic song. It was one of these that came to me all in a flash. I had the initial image. I finished writing the song in about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. And it was one of the songs that I wrote on my beautiful Gurian guitar way back when, in the 70s, as a matter of fact. It's another song that I love sharing with people. For some reason, it's just become a part of my DNA. And one line from this song became the title of the album that all these songs are on. There's Not a Dream I Wouldn't Keep. Remember, you can find this EP album on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your streaming music. And I hope you will. I hope you go and download it and listen to it a lot. Share it with folks. Dream Song is the last song on the album, and it is the song I will leave you with today. The first verse goes like this. I slept softly again, sweet, innocent sleep. Though I'd throw out some realities, there's not a dream I wouldn't keep.
I slept softly again, sweet innocent sleep. Though I'd throw out some realities, there's not a dream I wouldn't keep. Lady, tread softly into my moonlit room. Made no noises as she came, reminiscent of a tune. Standing in a radiance that could put the moon to shame. With the patience of a lioness, she whispered clues about her name. I tried to say I know you, but the words just wouldn't come. So I laid there in my slumber, submitted to the godly one. I watched in silence as she stood. I thought all the world could see. Oh, what music in my mind I heard as she spoke these words to me. I'm the wife of your forefathers, the queen to all your kings. I watched Moses on the mountain. I taught the sirens how to sing. I worked my hands in Egypt, wandered years upon the sand. I've seen the days of man and God. I walked into the promised land. She took me over the ocean and through the olive groves. She said, if you think that I have died, there's so much that you don't know. I followed all your people, still alive in you, on the banks of Galilee, and in everything you do. And as you lay here dreaming, they're living on the land, the wisdom and the glory are waiting for your hand. You're the window of my soul, I cried, bursting from my muted state. You are nothing more than I, but you've opened up the gate. I slept softly again, sweet innocent sleep. Though I throw out some realities, there's not a dream I wouldn't keep.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Love is Just Damn Good Business with Steve Farber. Join us again next time, because when customer and employee satisfaction just isn't enough anymore, we are here to back you up with specific ideas to operationalize love to make an enormous difference in your business, personal life, and the world around you. Visit our website at stevefarber.com to leave a review. And don't forget to share the love with your colleagues and friends, because after all, it's just damn good business.